Hey guys, how's everybody doing?
Good, man.
Nick and Tanner were just on my other call, so they probably saw. Now I'm out of breath, ready to do this one. Good having everybody in here. Okay, cool. So today I'm going to be doing two different things that we're going to be discussing. I'm going to be redoing a discussion that I had on GLPs because two reasons. One, it was in a Starbucks that was overly loud, like it was way too loud in the Starbucks, and it just ruined everything about the audio quality. And then the second reason is because Jeremy, I think, was the only, or Brennan was the only person on that call, anyways. It wasn't. It was a day where I had to like change the time, and then people didn't know when it was. So I figured I'm just gonna do it again live because then we can ask a lot of questions and you can feel really, really good about the whole thing. But I'm going to save some time at the end too for Q&A because I know some of you guys probably have some questions in regards to dosages and reconstituting. At least people have been messaging me all week, and I've just been saying, "Hey, hop on the live." They might not be able to, so we'll see. But that sounds good. So what we're gonna be going through today is I want to talk about a little bit of the history behind GLPs, and then we got to talk about the right way to do it because there's still a lot of people in the community, despite being drawn into the messaging that I've been talking about, who are still not doing them right. And it's almost killing me because now I feel like I'm promoting some a horrible way to do GLPs, even though I'm not. It's like I'm amplifying the problem. So I got to make sure that we don't do that. So let me pull up my whiteboard. And just so you guys know, this is probably the only class that I'm ever going to publish on my live YouTube channel that that's from the private group. Because usually I like to try to keep the stuff that's private and exclusive. But I really want everyone to hear this particular message because I feel like it's so powerful. Within about 3 years, my prediction is that you will have more skinny, fat, unhealthy people with heart disease and all sorts of issues and problems than ever before. And then my guess is that within the next 10 years, obesity goes through the roof. And here's why this is going to happen. This is the journey that the majority of people are taking on a GLP. So they start off over here, and just like me last year, so I'm not making fun of people. It's just what it is. They are fat. So they start off nice and juicy. I don't know why my font size didn't change. They start off nice and fat. They start their GLP-1. And as they do this, they are losing weight and they're not even having to do that much. Like, they're just eating a lot less and they're just losing weight, losing weight, losing weight. So let's just say that they started off at, 250 pounds within a very short period of time. They are now 200 pounds. And then after a year, they're 180 pounds. But what they have done is destroyed their metabolism. They have lost so much of their muscle that their basal metabolic rate drops. Because here's what happens. A healthy male, like for instance, right now, my daily maintenance caloric burn, I'm 5'8", I weigh about 164 pounds right now, is about 2,700 calories. And that's pretty good. That's a decent, healthy caloric burn for me. But if I all of a sudden start eating 1,200 calories a day, my body is going to have a couple things that it's going to do. The first thing that it's going to do is it's going to have to start chewing away at my muscle. So I'm going to start having muscle atrophy because muscle is metabolically expensive. It just sitting at rest, your muscle is going to cost more than fat. It's going to burn more calories than fat. So my body's going to make a choice. It's going to just start losing muscle. Now I will lose some fat as well, but also my thyroid output is going to drop, which is going to make my entire metabolic rate start dropping. Another thing that just starts happening is that in general, your NEAT drops. Your NEAT is your it's like your daily movement fidgeting. That's why when people get into like a real strong caloric deficit, they just feel like sitting on a couch all day. They get tired, they get fatigued, etc., because their NEAT drops. Your body is making all these compensations because it wants to survive. Your body wants to live and not die. And it's doing the math and it's saying, here's our runway, here's how much time we have, and here's how much you're consuming for energy. If I keep at this pace, I'm going to eventually die because someone who is starving is someone who is dying. Now you might say, I've got plenty of storage here to pull from. And, I'm not my body's going to be fine. That's not how it works. In fact, when you're in a caloric deficit, let's say that before you were on a GLP, you were eating 3,500 calories a day and you were only burning 2,800, and that's why we got fat. Because that's probably where I was. And most of mine was probably liquid calories because I didn't eat that much food. If I all of a sudden go from 2,700 calories a day down to 2,000 calories a day, I'm going to lose weight. But what'll happen is that my body, all this is going to happen quick, and 2,000 calories is going to become my new maintenance. And now, in order for me to be able to lose more weight, as I'm going to just start plateauing, I have to drop it even further and even further and even further. But if I only drop my calories 300 to 500 calories at a time, I'm going to keep losing weight. I'm going to keep losing weight, but it'll be at a pace where my body can sustain it. And I'm not going to plateau like that I did before. Now, it doesn't mean I'm not going to hit plateaus, but it means that I'm not going to crash as hard so quickly. And so this is happening to people on a GLP because they're so excited. They're losing weight. I just lost 35 pounds this month. That's too much. If you're losing more than 2 to 3 pounds, really it should be 1%, because I shouldn't say 2 to 3 pounds because it depends. If you're morbidly obese, it might be a lot more than that. But you shouldn't be losing more than 1% of your body weight every single week, because if you are losing muscle. Now, I would love to be able to promote, imagine how cool it would be so and so lost 30 pounds in our community in the first month. I actually don't want to promote that, even though it would look great for marketing. You'd attract a lot of people. And I want to show you a good example as to why this is. I'm going to show you a picture of me that is just horrible. So I'm actually building a webinar. Some of you guys might know I have a one-on-one coaching program that I'm doing now, and it's going great. And I'm going to just show you guys a picture from there. After 50 pounds of my weight loss, this was after being on a GLP for 3.5 months. I decided to go off of it because I hated the way I was looking. I hated how I looked. Like right now, I feel like I'm starting to get some muscle definition. My body's changing shape. I'm getting harder. I'm starting to look the way that I wanted to look. But after 50 pounds, which you'd think, wow, 50 pounds. Look how horrible I still look. Let me show you this picture real quick. This was me after 50 pounds of weight loss. I went from that to that. It's not that impressive. It's skinny fat. I still got man boobs. I still have a pudgy gut. I still got like this fat stuff that was hanging off on the side of my nipples. My shoulders have zero definition. They're just dropping. And guess what? The entire time I was doing that, I was at the gym 5 days a week lifting heavy weights. I was eating, the majority of the food that I ate was from protein. So I can't say that I wasn't doing the things right. I was trying so hard to build and maintain muscle. And I even had the benefit of newbie gains because newbies get more gains at that time. It was just pathetic. And one of the number one mistakes that you can make on a GLP is to say, well, I just want to lose some weight and then I'm going to go to the gym. Then I'm going to start lifting weights. It's the dumbest thing anybody could start saying, because it just doesn't, you're ruining this beautiful shot that you have while you've still got a good metabolism. And so if you are feeling hunger suppressed, when you feel like I just can't eat, guess what? That means your dose is too high. Drop your dose so that you feel some hunger. I know that you think, well, yeah, but then I'm going to eat too much. That's not the point. You're going to go just get a calorie app, get an app. That's what I do. Track your macros. Cal AI is a great one. Macro Factor, MyFitnessPal. I don't care which one you use. They're all pretty good with AI on it. And track your calories and make sure you are eating enough. And if you feel like, "Well, I don't know how to get that much in. I just can't eat that." Find a way to. Like, here's what I do is I know in the morning I'm going to have my yogurt with fruit, and now I have a bar because I just raised my calories to 2,700 calories. I'm actually trying to do a bulk. So you're going to get your, I know that before my workout, I'm going to have about 350, 400 calories, almost no protein, maybe only like 20 grams of protein. I don't want all that in my stomach. I want the majority of that to be carbs because I want that to saturate my muscles. I want that glycogen to spike because I'm going to need that to go fuel a workout. After my workout, immediately I'm going to go have a protein shake. That's going to be another 250, 300 calories with about 42 grams of protein. I'm going to probably have a coffee, a black coffee with like a mid-afternoon protein bar. And the way I plan it is that, I know that by dinner time, I'm going to have about 1,000 calories still in the bank that I can now eat some sort of a dinner. And I'm going to have probably some sort of protein ice cream or something like that, because I want by the end of the day, my 200 grams of protein is what I'm personally trying to get. You want roughly 1 gram of protein for every pound of lean mass in your body. What I'm trying to get at is the GLP should just be a little tool in the background that's making you insulin sensitive and taking away some of that food noise to let you like not run for the donuts and not run for the Skittles because it does dull your dopamine reward sensors. That's where it's powerful. But the second you suppress your hunger too much, where you're just not hungry, you've just lost the game because now you're going to be starving. You're going to be losing muscle. You're going to see the top line scale of the weight of the scale going down, and you're going to be feeling really good about it, but you don't realize you're actually getting fatter because you're losing muscle mass. So it's funny because when you're big, you associate top line scale and you get obsessed over what your weight is. And I hit a point about, let's say January, where I had gotten down to 151 pounds from 237 pounds. And I'm like, okay, I want to be able to get down to like that 10% body fat. And right now I'm probably sitting right around 15% body fat. And as I'm looking at this, I'm like, there's two ways for me to do this. And I don't like the first option. First option is I cut my calories and I try to just lose a little bit more fat for myself. But the problem is that my chest is underdeveloped. And I'm not trying to get skinny, I'm trying to get jacked. And it's okay to have a goal as to what you're trying to do. So as I'm doing the math, I'm like, well, there's two ways to increase or to decrease my body fat. I can just put on more muscle. And if I put on more muscle, as long as I grow muscle at a faster rate than what I gain fat, my body fat percentage as a percentage is actually going down. So even though I'll be gaining weight, my body fat percentage is going down. Now, when you're bigger, you're not thinking that way because you're just trying to look smaller. You just want to fit into smaller clothes. And I totally get that. But I think having a little bit of a balance between this of saying, hey, if I was in the other side of the coin and being like, okay, I've got a lot of fat on me, I want to lose this fat. Obviously, that's your priority goal is get rid of the visceral fat and all that. But if it means losing your 20% of your muscle or more as well, which every GLP study shows that most people lost 20 to 40% of their weight from muscle, that's not worth it. And there's actually a benefit to having the ability to be bigger. You don't realize it's a blessing. But every day I'm at the gym and I see guys who clearly are working out regularly and they just can't run. They can't get muscles. They are trying so hard. You can see it. And I even talk to them and I have conversations with them. There's a guy who I've become friends with and we swap phone numbers and he's sending me pictures and texting me and yeah, he's getting some muscle definition, but he just looks like a little boy. He can't help it. He looks like a little boy and he's a full grown man. And I thought, man, I used to hate my genetics, but it wasn't my genetics fault. It was my fault. I was just eating more than I was burning and I wasn't eating the right things. And I wasn't, so the first thing that I'm trying to say is that if you're going to do a GLP, do it. It's good for your insulin sensitivity, which I'm going to explain this in just that part of it in just a second, at a deeper level. But don't use it as a crutch. Don't be like, I'm going to just I'm sitting at a computer all day. I don't have time to exercise. I don't have time to work out. I'm going to jab myself. You're actually going to do more harm. And here's why. This is the next part. So they get down here, and while all of this is happening, their hunger starts coming back because your GLP receptors, they desensitize. So 2.5 used to get the job done for you, and now you're starting to feel hungry. So now you got to titrate up to 4. And then that stops doing the job for you, and you got to get to 5, and so forth. And in the most recent trials of Retta, once you start getting over 8 in phase 2 trials, what they started noticing is that people would start getting burning sensations. Not everyone, some people would get burning sensations in their skin. It wasn't enough to make them discontinue the use of the product, but after doing a lot of digging, talking to a lot of people, this is not just Retta, this has also been people on tirzepatide as well, which is Zepbound. And so there's some neurological things that start to take place at higher doses. So what does that tell us? Higher doses of it are not that safe. There's nothing wrong with it in a low dose, but we don't have enough human data to say, hey, I'm okay taking this forever. This is going to be my way of not getting fat. I think that that's a bad way to go about life. I think that saying, hey, I'm going to use this as a way to fix my metabolism now, use this as a tool to help me and get myself in the right direction and start changing my habits. That's got to be the absolute priority. Because here's what happens. If you desensitize your receptors, you don't really have a shot to go back on it again in the same way ever again. I'll give you a good example of this. So I have not actually taken like going on GLP therapy since last year, July 15th-ish is when I went off of it. Now, in like November of last year, I wanted to test 1 milligram a week of Retta, and I tried it for a week. It made my heart rate spike because I was also taking 5-amino-1-NQ and a few other, and MOTS-C and a few other things. I just was stacking too many mitochondrial things. And so my heart rate went way up. And so I discontinued after a week. But during that time, I never felt any hunger suppression at all. Now, I started testosterone January 7th. And about 2 to 3 weeks into it, I was like ravaging hunger. And I found out why. It's because as my testosterone levels were changing, by the way, I'm transparent about what I'm on. They started me at 200 milligrams a week. I just personally lowered it down to 160 because the first time I tested my blood, I was at 1,009 total, but my free was like 330. And then my second time testing it 2 weeks later at the same dose, I was just under 1,500 total, and I was like 460 free. I'm like, this is too high. I don't want that. I didn't feel bad, but I didn't want that. I want to be around like 1,000 to 1,100. So I lowered it down to 160 on my own. They were like, no, you're okay. Keep it right there. I'm like, I'm not going for the R&B Classic, guys. I'm just trying to be a healthy male. So anyways, during that time though, while my levels were changing, my estrogen initially went up to 91. Now they're down at like 16. So now I'm hoping it came back up because I feel my water retention went away, but hopefully it's come back up a little bit. During that swing, my hunger became ravaging. So I'm like, I am going to, just for the sake of this next week, while I'm getting through this, I'm going to take a dose of tirzepatide because I don't want to eat every freaking thing in sight. Like I felt like I wanted to eat everything in sight, and I was doing a good job restraining myself, but I was feeling a little miserable. I had still had a vial of tirzepatide from last year. So I take and it was actually it was not constituted, it was the powder. So I put in the solution, I take the tirzepatide, 5 milligrams of it, which was what the dose I ended on. I noticed nothing, absolutely no difference. Now I know that tirzepatide is good tirzepatide because I've sold from that batch to a buddy of mine, and he couldn't eat after 2.5 milligrams. He was like, I'm stopped. It had zero bearing effect on me. So I start doing some research on it. And it says that if you were on a GLP at one point and you got up to that, it's very likely that you'll never feel that same level of hunger suppression on those low doses unless years and years and years went by. And even if the data is unknown, you might have to titrate up. And I'm like, I'm not going to titrate up. I'm just going to weather this out. And I did. Now, full transparency, I started last week, 1 milligram a week of Retta. I feel zero hunger suppression, but I really want the glucagon agonist benefits of it because it's really good for AMPK at a mitochondria level, like helps your joints, helps, glucose handling and all that. So I did start that, but I don't feel any hunger suppression. I'm not doing it for weight loss. I'm doing it more for energy and for other things. And you'll find Reddit is for a lot better, is good for a lot of things other than weight loss. What that points to, though, is that I don't believe that these GLPs are something that you can use forever, because you will eventually titrate yourself into an unsafe level. So you've got a window of time to change your behaviors, change what got you where you are, to actually become a more healthy person, to become a better version of yourself, and use that window wisely, because you might not ever get it back. It might not ever come back, but you might not have that same opportunity until they come out with another technology or something. And even then, like, don't you want to just be a better version of yourself? I'm not shaming GLPs. I love them. I think that they're a great tool for people, but not the way people are using them. You have to use them in a way where it's like, I'm fixing myself. So here's what I recommend everybody does if you're on a GLP. The first thing is we always have to take accountability for ourselves. So like for me, I had to have the realization, like, I am only fat, not because of my genetics, not because of my hormones, not because of my insulin resistance. Those are all consequences of bad habits or something else that happened in my life. For instance, one of my I consider a good friend who's on here now. He was in great shape. He was a runner. He was actually the guy that at his gym people were trying to compete with. Got in a terrible car accident. Nothing he can do about that. Totally put him out. But even when we're discussing things and talking, I never hear him talking like victim mindset. It's always like it threw him down this path of decisions, and now he's making the change. He's working on making the changes that he needs. That is the way that we want to be. We want to have the mindset of like, I could have done this differently. And so I look at myself, and I, for the longest time, told myself this story because I have syringomyelia. I have a spinal cord disease. I was actually told that like by mid 30s to my early 40s, I'd probably be in a wheelchair. That didn't happen. But I allowed myself to create this story that I am this handicapped person that can't exercise that much, that can't do all this because I have burning sensation just holding weights. Like it feels like pins and needles in my hand. And it's true. I told myself and created this character about who I was. And that's just who I was going to be content being. And then I saw that photo of myself with my mom, which is in that webinar, where I was like absolutely just morbid. And I was so embarrassed. I'll show you. This is the picture that changed it for me right here with my mom. And I'm like, who the heck am I? Like, who have I become? And it's like for me, it was such a sad version of myself. And I started thinking about that idea of a version of myself. Like, we all have the worst version of ourselves, and we all have the best version of ourselves. And so what's a really fun practice to do, and it takes a lot of self-honesty, is write down who you want to be. Like, I want to be the guy who's up at 6:30, has energy, gets a lot of work done, makes a great living for his family, comes home, has energy to play with his kids. His kids adore him. And, I just want my wife to feel attracted to me. I want to be, and you think about that version of yourself, all of those things, and even try to what it would look like. And this sounds really silly. Put it into OpenAI with a picture of yourself now and say, show me what I would look like as that person. I did that. And it spit out this really ripped looking dude. And I was like, I saw it. I'm like, that's what I want. And I saved that photo. And I would literally, as I was working out, and every now and then I'd go back and I'd reflect on that and be like, that's what I'm working towards. And I put so much time, effort, and money to every day just becoming a little bit better of a version of myself that now, because I quit drinking, like when my friends are all having a little glass of alcohol around me, I look at that and I think, the second I would drink that, I drop down to a lower version of myself. I don't want that. But start thinking in your life in terms of a version of yourself. It totally changes your concept on who you are. Then you start thinking about what are some of the steps I need to start doing. And you're not going to be able to do them all overnight to be able to become that version of yourself. For me, the very first thing, and this was like everything centered when I fixed this one problem, it was like the big domino that getting myself to the gym. Like when the gym is good, everything else is good for me because you don't want to ruin all the effort and the work that you just put in. But there's a deeper reason why you go to the gym. Your muscles have something in it called a GLUT4 transporter. And when you are insulin resistant, that the way that what that even means to be insulin resistant, because I said I'd go just a little bit deeper on this, is that when you eat food and your insulin spikes, it carries that glycogen to your muscles, to your liver, your organs, because your cells are supposed to receive that glycogen, pull it in, and your mitochondria turns it into ATP, and that's the body's currency. That's your body's energy. It's supposed to do that in a healthy individual. But when you chronically spike it too much and your signals get all tangled up, what ends up happening is your body becomes unreceptive to it. So even if it needs it, so like let's say your muscles actually need the glycogen and the insulin knocks on the door of the muscles and the muscle cells go, no, we're good. So it goes to the organs and the organs say, no, we're good. And your body is like, I don't know what to do with this. And so your body starts noticing, wow, the blood glucose level is still really high. We must not have it. We need to spike more insulin to try to put that somewhere. And you know where it ends up storing it? As visceral fat, which is the active fat that is around your organs. The problem is that visceral fat also drips into the liver, gives you a fatty liver, and this makes you more insulin resistant. It is a vicious, vicious cycle. Now, because your body becomes insulin resistant, your body does not have the right nutrients, the right glycogen, the right energy stores because it's been resisting it. So you know what your ghrelin does? Your ghrelin receptor is the thing that makes you hungry or thirsty. It just tells you eat, consume, consume. It's that feeling in your head like you're ready to go. When that ends up happening, you start eating more and eating more. And that's how you get into this, or drinking. And that's how you get into this huge caloric surplus. And that's why even if you tried to diet and get into a caloric deficit without the GLP, which you can do, it is so much harder to lose weight because you're taking somebody who's already technically nutrient deprived because all their nutrients are ending up in their visceral fat and you're just giving them less. And so your ghrelin just keeps spiking and spiking and spiking, and it makes you miserable. And that's why I'm a fan of the GLPs, because the day you take it, the next day you're able to start, your body knows how to handle glucose again. It's like it rewrites your entire metabolism with just a few signals. It's awesome for that if you're using it for that. But people don't use it for that. They use it I know that because they ask me, Ross, what's the best hunger suppressant? That's not what you should be thinking. Ross, what's the best way to become insulin sensitive again so that I can properly change my body? Because I don't want to be on this thing forever. And I had put in the Reddit group one time for Zepbound, here's how to get off of it without gaining weight back, because I'm one of the only people that my doctor even knew who has done this. And I got filleted. People, why would you ever go off of it? Why do you make us feel bad like we need to go off of it? Because it is a means to a freaking end. That is why I make you feel that way. We don't know the long-term data on it. You are going to run out of runway when you get up to 12. I remember one of my friends saying, and they had been on it for a long time, and she was like, what dose are you on? I'm like, oh, I'm on 2.5. She's like, oh, you're going to end up higher. I was like, I don't think I want to go higher than 5. And she was like, no, you're going to want to. And she was on like 12 at the time. She's like, you'll end up wanting to go higher. Trust me. I was off at 5. I only stayed on it 3.5 months. I did not want to stay on it forever. I wanted to use it to fix my metabolism, change myself, change my habits. I hated who I was. I hated the person that I had become. I didn't want to go to events. I didn't want people to see me. I was ashamed to take off my shirt at a pool. I would avoid scenarios where I thought people were swimming. I just hated it. All my videos were on my face, which was still swollen and fat. Like I just didn't like myself. And so I wanted to change who that person was. But that's the realization that you have to come to if you're on a GLP, is that the only reason you're here is because of your habits, the things that you've done to get yourself here. And that without changing that, all you're doing is putting on a Band-Aid for a little bit that will eventually get worse. Because if you kill your metabolism, you don't build muscle and change who you are. When you run out of runway, you're going to get to either an unhealthy level of a medication that we don't know the long-term side effects of, or you're going to have to go off of it. And you're just going to get really obese again because even if you eat at a normal maintenance of what a person should be able to eat, because you've lost your muscle, which is a big portion of your metabolism, because your thyroid output has dropped through the roof, because your NEAT has dropped, even if you just eat normal maintenance calories that someone your weight should be, you gain it all back and more because you're not burning what a normal person your weight should be at. Hopefully this is making sense. And so that is why right out of the gate, start lifting weights, start contracting muscles. And you know what? You almost have to just say, I got to humble myself and accept where I'm at. Like I remember going to the gym in Kohler, and here I am, 237 pounds, and I was so weak, I could barely curl a 20-pound weight. That's how weak I was. Even on the bench, I had like 15 pounds on each side. I could barely do it. It was like wearing me out. And I'm looking around the room, and you just see these other guys who are, they've been lifting for a while, much stronger than me. You just have to do that. Now, yesterday, I just hit a PR at Planet Fitness, the incline dumbbells. I was able to get the 75s, which for me is great. I was able to get the 75s for 7. They don't even have anything higher than 75s at Planet Fitness. I have to change gyms now when I get back. No, maybe at some point I will. But the point is that you just start where you're at and you go up from there. And that's all you can do. And so I really want to encourage people on Retta, on tirzepatide. Get rid of your semaglutide if you're on that. That is like one of the worst ones for you. Do not use it. Don't let it do the work for you. Let it enhance the work that you're doing. That's all you should be doing. And if you feel completely hunger suppressed, you're doing it wrong. Now, what if you are in a situation right now? I want to address this situation where you did do it wrong for a long time and you used it for hunger suppression. And now your eyes have been opened that you either have to keep titrating up or figure out something else. Because I've actually had multiple phone calls with people and coaching calls over the last week and a half of people in this situation. In fact, one guy said to me, Ross, I started off on semaglutide, then I moved to tirzepatide, maxed out what I could get on that. I've added in Retta and to try to keep suppressing my hunger on that. And I said, well, how often do you go to the gym? Oh, I've never been to the gym. What are your macros? I don't know. So he's like, I said, I don't know if I can help you if that's who you are. Like your goal is you just can keep medicating yourself. I was like, I can only help you if you're willing to actually change. And he wasn't. So it ended up, I called off the call. I said, I'm sorry, I'm not the guy to help you. He's like, no, I just want to figure out how to do this with, pharma. Like, okay, that's not what I'm about. But if you are in a situation where let's say that you're on 12.5 milligrams a week of tirzepatide and you don't want to keep titrating up, but your hunger is coming back and you haven't changed who you are and you're starving and you don't know what to do, here's how you fix it. There is a way to dull your hunger a little bit on a different receptor, but that's not what we're going to do unless you've just the noise through the roof and you don't know what to, like you're just panic ravaging. What I would suggest you do is take a week to just track your calories of what your intake is. And then every week, start going up 100 calories, eating 100 calories more. If you haven't been lifting weights, you guys start doing it right away. Start lifting weights. I made a video in here about my entire workout routine and what I'm doing. And, I think it fell upon deaf ears, to be honest with you, because I don't think I've seen a single person actually go follow that same exact routine from the community. A lot of people, I know how to work out. I'm just telling you, a lot of people don't actually. I know some of you guys do, but most people aren't doing progressive overload. I see people at the gym. They're not doing progressive overload. They're not training the right muscle groups at the right time. They don't have the right frequency of the right. It's like people are just randomly doing things. They spend way too much time on a treadmill, which is dumb. Like that lowers your actual daily output over time. And so start working out, doing resistance training right away, get your protein intake guy. But every week you start increasing your calories by 100 calories a day or so. I had crushed my metabolism last year in July. And what I started doing was exactly what I'm telling you. As of today, I've worked my way up from last year in July to 1,200 calories to now I'm at 2,700 calories a day. Now, mind you, I'm trying to do a bulk, but it's not working because my actual metabolic burn rate has increased through the roof. And so, like this last week, I've been increasing my calories, and I'm still getting leaner. Now, I do think I'm putting on more muscle, but I see fat still piling off. And I've actually come to a couple of conclusions on this. One is that when you are in such a caloric deficit, your cortisol spikes because your CNS gets really stressed out. When you start refeeding yourself, your CNS actually is like, oh, we're not dying. We're okay. And it starts, and you start, it feels okay to let go of some something. So that's one of my conclusions of it. But the secondary piece of this is what I had said before about, you start, if you're doing just a minor adjustment, increasing it, like I'm not going from 2,300 to 3,500 or to 3,000, your body, the surplus, and you're lifting heavy, it can prioritize that towards muscle growth with muscle protein synthesis and, mTOR. But lastly, about a month and a half ago, I did a cycle of MOTS C. People who are struggling to burn, to increase their burn rate, a lot of times their mitochondrial turnover has taken an absolute dump. And so by doing MOTS-C, it activates AMPK, which immediately tells your body, hey, get rid of the damaged mitochondria and create more mitochondria. And as your body creates more mitochondria, your burn rate goes up. More mitochondria you have, the higher burn rate you have. So, 5-amino-1 and Q does the same thing. It's just much further upstream to where MOTS-C is something that it does it and it triggers it pretty much right out of the gate. But that's the thing is you got to start going from this thought process of not how can I suppress my eating more, because that you can't. You're already not eating. And how can I start increasing my body's burn rate so that way I can start eating like a normal human being without becoming obese? And so that's my little rant here for the day on GLPs. Now, if you're trying to decide between Retta and tirzepatide for your kangaroo, there's a few things to consider. If you've got cardiovascular issues, I would stay away from Retta. It is known to increase your heart rate by 5 to 10 beats per minute. That's not worth it if you've got cardiovascular issues. If tirzepatide is still a great option as long as you're working out. The reason why because you can still lose, it's muscle sparing. You can still lose muscle even on Retta. You will lose muscle even on Retta. People in the studies lost 20% from muscle if they didn't work out. So yes, it does target fat. Yes, it is greater for, fat reduction and prioritizes it over muscle. And the reason that it does this is the glucagon agonist. What's kind of nice about that is even in the phase, usually you only burn fat when insulin is low. So typically when insulin is spiked, you're not burning fat. But Retta flips the script on this to where even if insulin is spiked, as long as it's not spiked too much, you can still burn fat. That's what makes Retta such a powerful tool. But you can still do that on tirzepatide. Just time things out right and figure out your body. Like for me, I stopped eating after 6. And the reason I do that is because I take growth hormone peptides at night, and I want to be really well fasting for my growth hormone peptides. And so I like taking those. But there's the other benefit of it is my insulin's all night. My insulin's low. Gives my body a chance to reset, to rest. It allows myself to stay insulin sensitive because it's having your insulin spiked chronically that makes you eventually become insulin resistant again. And the way you become insulin resistant is chronically spiking it and being in a caloric surplus so often. So even if you're fit and healthy, you could become insulin resistant over time, depending on what you do. So the biggest difference is you have that third agonist. Now, if you don't have any cardiovascular issues, the reason I like Retta so much is because at a low dose, it is not as hunger suppressive as tirzepatide is. And the reason for that is because even though it has the GLP and the GIP, that glucagon ramps up your metabolism and it can counteract those effects a little bit. Now, the other thing is that they have found that when you start getting over, say, like 6 to 8 milligrams a week of Retta, your hunger actually can come back worse because that glucagon agonist starts really kicking in even stronger than the GLP and the GIP. So I just like the idea that if at low doses, you're probably not going to feel the hunger suppression. How do you know if it's working? Well, there's a few ways that you can know if it's working. If you have a wearable, you'll see your heart rate going up a little bit. That's just going to naturally happen. The other thing is you'll start having your body recomp over the course of several weeks. But one thing to note is that most people don't actually start feeling the glucagon benefits until they start getting over that 2 milligram a week dosing on it. But that doesn't mean you should start at 2 milligrams. What you should people should do is start at 0.5 milligrams for about a week. If they felt really good on zero point 0.5 and they didn't have nausea and so forth, there's no reason why they couldn't go up to 1 milligram a week. But I would stay at 1 milligram a week for several weeks. Let that get, because you got to build up what's called a steady state. Because the day you take it, the next day you don't have 1 milligram in there. It takes a while to build that up because it's got about a 6-day half-life to where you get a steady state. Some people ask, should I microdose Retin? No, you should not microdose Retin. If by microdose Retin, you just mean 1 injection a week, but it's small, sure, that's what I'm doing. But if by microdosing you mean, hey, I'm going to take 5 milligrams a week, but I'm going to take 2 on this day and 2.5 on this day, no, don't do that. It's not the right way to do it. Think of it like a bathtub. You fill up a bathtub. Can you imagine if you had the drain open and you fill it up and then the drain and you keep doing, that's not how it goes. You want a steady state of hot water. In the same way, you want a steady state. All the studies were done of it on it, one injection of it per week, and then you'll build up a steady state at that level. Don't mess with it. It's you won't get the same result. If you're like, yeah, but because too many people think hunger suppression is the sign that it's working. No, hunger suppression is the sign that people want because they want to shut their freaking mouths. It's not the sign that they need. They need the insulin sensitivity, which is going to allow them to eat like a normal person without their ghrelin spiking through the roof. You just want it to take the edge off of being in a caloric deficit. You don't want it to take away everything because you got to learn, okay, this here is 300 calories, but I'm still going to be hungry when I'm finished with it. This here's 300 calories, but I'm going to be stuffed after I eat it. I should go with this one. Like you got to teach your body to start making the right healthy decisions, and that's the way to do it. And the reason why somebody would go towards the tirzepatide is just if they, like I said, if they've got some sort of cardiovascular issues and they don't want to do that. Now, reasons you would stay away from a GLP altogether would be as if you've ever had any thyroid cancer in your family or potential thyroid cancer for yourself. And the reason why and is because your thyroid has way more GLP receptors on it, or does have GLP receptors on it. Mice, though, which is why this black box warning is on there, have even more GLP receptors on their thyroids than even humans do. So there was more cancer that showed up on mice who took a GLP than humans just because of that. But it's something to be concerned about, or to at least acknowledge that if this is in your family, you should stay away from it. There's other ways to become insulin sensitive other than a GLP. There are other ways to do it. MOTS-c can do it. And contracting your muscles can do it. Well, there's plenty of things that we can do to amp that up without having to take it. So if you feel like that's the case. Now, if your hunger is through the roof and you don't want to keep ramping up your GLP, but you want to now start making the changes, you could also start taking cagrilintide, which works on a totally different receptor. It's not a GLP. It doesn't slow down your stomach, your gastric emptying, but it will take away the food noise. But you know what I found actually helps me take away food noise? Because I was concerned when I went off of it, and I didn't ever get it strong the way people said, because I actually started refeeding myself when my hunger went away. Instead of titrating up, I took like 3 weeks to deal with it and figure out the right way to do it. But there's something you can go to Walgreens and buy. It's called 5-HTP. And you don't want to take it too much, but it releases serotonin. And if you think about it, food noise is really not hunger. It's just anxiety. So whenever I'm feeling at night like, I want something, because my wife, she's a rail. She can eat whatever she wants and she still looks hot. My kids, they love eating at night. So I'll smell them making this and that and cook this up. And when my brain goes, I'll do a few things. I'll ask myself, is it my head that's hungry or is it my stomach that's hungry? Most of the time it's my head that's hungry. If that's the case, then I will go take a big thing of seltzer water, not normal water. For me, for some reason, seltzer water fills me. And I put a scoop of electrolytes that are flavored, that have no calories in it, and I'll drink that entire thing. That usually takes care of it. And the reason for that is your ghrelin, it spikes for food and water. And so sometimes you can think you're hungry, but you're actually thirsty. And until you drink, you don't actually know. The other thing is I put a picture of the konjac root fibers that you can buy. You can see it on my profile. Take 3 of those. Those are just fiber. They expand in your stomach, slow down your gastric emptying a little bit, but they make you feel full. I take those and it'll take away that feeling. But 5-HTP, if you still have that feeling, you can take one and it totally relaxes your body. You feel like your serotonin is released and you don't have that feeling in your head like, oh my God, I absolutely need to eat right now. It goes away from you. So you can learn some of these little tools and it will be very helpful for you. So with that said, let's do some Q&A before we call it a day. I'm sorry, I know I've been ranting now for 47 minutes nonstop. Anybody have any questions on any peptides that you're either taking or that you are, or about what we talked about today?
I'm not on any yet, but I'm curious about the inflammation aspects of Retta, as far as reducing pain. I've seen people talk about that.
Uh, Reducing pain with Retta?
Yes.
What is it like arthritis pain?
I've seen a few comments of people say, "Oh, I have this type of arthritis, and since taking Retta, it's either decreased a good amount or a little or whatever."
Yeah, so for a couple of the reasons why this happens, it's just because it does help with nutrient partitioning better, so your inflammation drops significantly more. It actually still happens on tirzepatide too. I have
Mm.
a friend who has chronic nerve pain, and she started taking tirzepatide, and it went from like walking around like an 8 to dropping down to like a 2. And so when people are insulin resistant, they also have a lot more inflammation in their body everywhere. And by taking the medication, it actually reduces your inflammation significantly. I did notice that like some of the pain that I feel because what stringomelia is, which is a spinal cord disease I have, it's actually the same thing Bobby Jones had. I have what's called a Chiari malformation. So right past on the skull of my head, my brain stem is just a little bit herniated past the skull. In fact, I can, if I push hard enough, I can kind of touch, which is neat, or I can feel the pressure on it. And it causes your spine to fill up with fluid, and that fluid, which is called a sphinx, pushes on your nerves. And so those nerves, one day I can be like laid up and I can't move. And then the next day I can be golfing. And, people could think, oh, he was faking it, but it's just the way that my nerves were pushed that day. It's like a pinched nerve in your body. Well, what I noticed when I was on tirzepatide is like when I'm holding something, I feel like a stinging in my hands, like a stinging pain. I feel it nonstop. It's always there because
Mm.
of this nerve pain. When I was on it, it was like dull. Like right now, it's probably like a 6 or 7. It was down to like a 1 or a 2. And I get it in my feet as well. Well, about 3 weeks after I had gone off the tirzepatide, that pain came back so much. It was horrible for a little bit. And then because my body wasn't like used to dealing with that pain that much anymore. And then it kind of like I started getting used to it and started fading away again. It's still there, but it's like we get used to it again. But I hadn't had to deal with it for such a long time. So they can reduce like inflammatory things that way.
Mm.
So, and the glucagon agonist really does help with a lot of this as well because it allows your body to use glycogen in a way that is fueling your body, converting to ATP, where when you don't have that and you're insulin resistant, a lot of times that increases inflammation. That's why people who are like gluten free, a lot of times they do it to reduce inflammation.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, no, good question. Any other questions?
Mm.
Yo, Ross, I actually got a question.
Yeah.
So I'm actually kind of helping my dad out with this stuff too. Learning from you here, and he was on tirzepatide up until the beginning of this year, and then his insurance uh stopped paying for it, so it went from like I don't know $30 to like $750 or something like that for him.
Wow.
Um, and he was like, "Yeah, I'm done with that." And then, but I'm thinking about getting him on Retta.
Mhm.
But he's going from like he was on like 15 milligrams of trizepatide, which is insane. I think it
Yeah,
was actually way too much, and he was
way too
wanting to
much.
even come down, but the doctor just insisted. Um,
What does
I
he
think they're
weigh?
just those doctors get paid, you know how it is. He weighs right now he's probably around 350,
250 pounds.
350.
Okay,
Yeah,
wow.
yeah, he's down
Did,
from where he was at because he was on the trizepatide, but
got it.
um,
Did he do
yeah.
any weight training, any sort of exercise, or was he just taking the
I
medication?
mean, he doesn't do weight training. He doesn't go to the gym or anything, but he's outside like doing farming and stuff. Like he gets outside a bit. He does need to do more weight training. I've talked to him about that.
Yeah,
More
especially if
heavy lifting stuff.
especially when you're older, because muscle atrophy at his age was one of the number one causes for death. Because if
Yeah,
he gets really skinny, but he's not frail and he can fall. And the problem is at
yeah,
300 something pounds, in order to get down to that healthy weight, you're going to be on it for quite a long time. And so when you do get down there, you're going to end up really, really frail. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah. Exactly, exactly. He does have like rheumatoid arthritis really bad, so that's like kind of half the reason he doesn't weight lift. I think we just need to find like a middle
How's his
ground or
heart
something.
and his lipids?
Well, we just did a test. He just did a test this on Monday, so I don't have the results for it yet.
Got it.
Um, but
So I would,
he'll be
uh,
getting the results soon.
well, obviously I'm talking about kangaroos, not your dad, because I'm not a doctor.
Yeah.
And you want at the end of the day, his doctor is going to be way smarter than me probably when it comes to his particular health, because he's going to know your dad's heart and his situation and all that much better. But Reddit could be a good option if his lipids are really bad and his is okay going up a few beat, 5 to 10 beats per minute and that resting heart rate.
Hmm.
The only thing that I am just not a proponent of is anybody taking a GLP if they're not going to start crunching weights. Because
Yeah.
it's just like, I understand at 300 something pounds, but for him, that might just be some dumbbells, something like that, even if he can't get to a gym just yet.
Yeah, I
But
can get him into some sort of routine at home at least. He's got
yeah,
space for it. He just needs to
yeah,
do it.
yeah. I don't know why they had him on 15. Is he tracking his calories? Because
No.
here's the thing. He's got to track his calories. The
Hmm.
only way that we lose weight, and this is something I wish I would, I feel so dumb. I feel so dumb because everyone always said this for so long, calories in, calories out. And I remember one time my boss, when I was a kid, I was like, he was losing weight and I was like, hey, what are you doing? I wasn't even that fat. I wasn't even fat at all. I was a teenager at that time. That was like the only time in my life I was thin. He's like, what are you doing to lose so much weight? He's like, dude, it's all calories in, calories out. And it dawned on me, it's all freaking calories in, calories out. Like if I'm getting
Yeah.
fat, it's because I am eating more than I consume. And what's funny is like I walk around Disney and Epcot and I see all these people that are so big that they have to go around on their little scooters and they're in these lines getting ice cream and food. And it's just bothering me now. Like it's killing me that this is the case because I was just this massive, I was just a big fat guy myself doing the same thing. And I'm just thinking, I feel so bad for them in a sense because they just don't know what they're doing it to themselves. Like to them, it's like they have let themselves go so much that it's like, what's one more ice cream gonna do? You know what I mean? Where like I'm over
Mhm.
here tracking this little 200 calorie bar that I just ate, and they're like, whatever, 500 calories in a single ice cream. Like they're not even thinking about it. So he's got to start
Yeah.
tracking it because the only reason your dad is where he's at in 300 pounds is because he ate more than what he burned. And so he's got to
Yeah.
figure
Yeah.
out how to burn more than what he's eating. And he doesn't need the GLP for that. The GLP is just going to help him to become insulin sensitive. So that way it's more tolerable to do it. And
Yeah.
so,
Well, I think
yeah,
well he has what is it where your insulin doesn't work or whatever
diabetes.
diabetes, and sorry, I was blanking on that.
Is it
And
type 1 or type 2 diabetes?
type 2.
Yeah. So it's
So
reversible.
and that's why he started going on the GLP because that's what the doctor
Yeah.
said to do.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's
Uh
100% reversible, though. Type 2
yeah.
diabetes is self induced.
Yeah,
And
exactly. Yeah, he like I mean he ate terrible up until like a year ago.
yeah.
He's
And
starting to
I,
get into better eating
and
habits now. So
and hopefully I don't
yeah.
come off insensitive.
No.
I just want to help people.
Yeah, for sure.
And you know what I mean? I'm not trying to be
Yeah.
insensitive. So for him, I would he's got it. Here's the cool thing is that your dad has a higher burn rate than I do.
Yeah.
At 300 something pounds, his body, it takes, probably 30, 3,500. I don't know. You have to figure it out. Go in and figure out the calculator. But he's probably burning 3,500 calories a day at rest because his body trying to maintain the 350 pounds that's on him. So he has a higher basal metabolic rate than I do. So
Mhm.
he doesn't have to suppress his hunger that much. He just needs to cut 500 calories to 700 calories maybe at his weight
Mhm.
a day, and he'll start losing that weight. It'll just start falling off, but he's got to track it. Otherwise,
Yeah.
he won't realize what he's eating because, maybe he's on the farm and he doesn't realize it, but that Mountain Dew or that drink or whatever the thing he grabs, I don't know what his diet is, but you don't stay, even if he says he's fixed his eating, you don't stay 350 pounds. If it's not still going down, it means that he hasn't really fixed his eating. So
Mhm.
you might have to help him and see, like, okay, Dad, we need to start tracking this because somewhere in your diet, you're still eating too many calories, and it could be, you're drinking those calories, but somewhere along the way, that's what's happening. And we got to figure out where it is because I love you, Dad, and I want to help you live for a long, long time.
Yeah.
And I wish people would have said that to me a long time ago because I was at the grocery store about 3 months ago and a lady said, Ross, she was from our church. She was, Ross, me and my daughter are so worried about you. I said, why? Because you've lost so much weight. I was like, why weren't you worried about me when I was
Before.
like about
Yeah.
to go on beta blockers and my blood pressure was through the roof? And, why weren't you worried about me then? And so I just wish people were more blunt with me at that time. And even my wife, I said to her last week, I was like, when I was that fat and that big, did you like, did you realize how big I was gotten? Or did it just slowly happen that you didn't think it was? She's like, I would see you eating things and I was like, what the heck is he doing to himself? She's like, but I was scared to say something because I didn't want to hurt your feelings. And I'm like, God, what a beautiful wife because she went 13 years with this pathetic version of myself and loved me still because she didn't hurt my feelings. It's like I wish she would have hurt my feelings a little sooner because maybe it would have added an extra 5 to 10 years to my life.
Mhm. One question actually more for me. And so right now I do CrossFit 3 days a week, and I haven't started any GLP or anything like that. But I'm gonna be starting Retta here soon, and I was wondering if, because like with my CrossFit stuff, it's not a lot of weight lifting. I mean, there's definitely a lot of weight lifting, but not like heavy lifting so much. It's a lot of,
You're
I don't know
throwing
if you're
stuff
familiar with
around. It's
CrossFit, but
different jerky. Yeah, I know a lot
yeah,
about the.
yeah.
Are you doing the CrossFit fit more just because you truly enjoy it and it's fun, or are you doing it just because it's something you wanted to try?
I've been doing CrossFit on and off for 5 years. So it's something I do enjoy. I just what the thing I enjoy about it is I go to the gym, I don't have to think about it, and they just tell me what to do, and then I do it, and then I leave and don't have to think about it. Um,
So I'll tell
but
you the reason why I personally am not a fan of CrossFit, but I will say if you are going 3 times a week and you're getting the exercise and you're feeling good about it, don't let me stop you because of my opinion. This is just an opinion. This isn't, you know what I mean? You could talk to one guy and he's like, I have a friend who's in great shape. He's shredded. He's into CrossFit. He doesn't do what I do. And he's like, I like it because it's competitive. I like the community aspect of it, etc. Um, I don't like it because I want to be able to, I have like a specific physique I'm going for. Of what I want to look like. It's not like Chris Bumstead, but I want to have, you know, the V taper, I've always been obsessed with like superheroes and so forth. Like I want to look, I want to look kind of shredded.
yeah.
And the problem that I find with the CrossFit is that I'm not going to be able, because I've looked at it, contract all of my muscles at the same progressive overload that I can by training my muscle groups the way I do now. Like right now, I have my chest and triceps day where I hit my upper, my mid, my lower, and my side chest to flies, inclines, dips, flat bench, and I do that on one day. It's all progressive overload, 4 sets. I do them to failure, and then I work my triceps because that's that works really good with the chest. Then my next day, I work my back and I work my biceps. And I'm starting kind of hard to see here, but you can kind of see I'm starting to be able to get like the lats, like the wings are starting to pop a little bit more. Like I'm trying to get that a real strong back. In fact, when I've been taking pictures of my back and I can see that. And then and then the next day I hit my legs real hard with my shoulders and I train my abs. So I do that 3 times a week, so or 6 times a week, but I do it twice. So I'm hitting those muscle groups, multiple times. I love it. And I do about 5 to 10 minutes of cardio at the beginning of the workout, 5 to 10 minutes after, and I get about 10,000 steps a day. And that's what I'm doing for my workout. I love it. I get progressive overload. I can see, okay, I'm progressing because last week I was only able to do, these 75s for 6, and now I just got 8 out of them. Like I can see that growth coming out of them. With CrossFit, I'm not. You're going to have different ways that you're going to see your progression and so forth, but it's not going to be the same way. Like you're training for functionality. You're training for a
Mhm.
different focus, which
Yeah.
you could argue is better and more useful
Yeah.
because you could argue both sides of them. At the end of the day, you just got to do what's fun and enjoyable. That's something that you think you're going to be able to regularly do often.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely. Like, do you think it'd be wise to like go down to like 2 days a week CrossFit and then just like get a second gym membership and go just lift heavy? Would that like be beneficial for being on
so,
Retta?
so here's the thing that you just have to make sure that you do is if you're going to do that, you might be better off doing like 2 days a week full body workouts at the gym
Yeah.
and then doing your CrossFit because what you don't want to do, like you build muscle when you're recovering.
Yeah.
And so that's why I go in and I'm just targeting roughly 2 muscle groups at a time, other than my shoulders, I'll hit sometimes multiple. Your front delts you hit on chest day, you can't help that, but like shoulders, I'll hit those twice a week with my legs and with the abs, but abs, I don't train that long because you don't really know to. And so, it's like you have to give each of your muscle groups, I try to give them about 48 hours to recover. And so you just have to manage your schedule in a way where you're allowing yourself enough time to recover. If you're on Retta and you're in a caloric deficit and you're overtraining, you could overstimulate your CNS. You
Hmm.
could just be tired. You could end up causing yourself more issues. There's nothing wrong though with doing little seasons of things where you're like, hey, you know what? The CrossFit, for instance, I don't know, but you could say my legs are getting pretty built on CrossFit. Like, they look good. I'm doing this, I'm looking that, but I'm not really happy with where my shoulders and my arms and the chest are right now because maybe CrossFit's not giving me. So we could say I'm going to do 3 days a week at the gym where I work my shoulders, chest, and my arms, and I'm going to just do my CrossFit for everything else. There's nothing wrong with it. Like tailor it to what your body needs. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yep.
So and what you could do is, and this will, I've done this quite often, is I actually optimized what I wanted my personal physique to look like. And I know that this sounds silly to people, but it's like, hey, we're here to try to become the best version of ourselves. You have to have a mental visual image of what that is through OpenAI. And I kind of like this. I want the shoulders a little here, tapered a little bigger, and this and that. And I had to do that. And then I took a picture of myself now. And then I said, here's my current workout routine. Optimize this based on what would help me. And it'd be like, well, your chest is a little underdeveloped. Do this, that, blah, blah, blah. You're going to want to uptake your caloric. Like it gave me a whole plan. It was really, really well thought out and good. Better than what I would have come up with on my own, to be honest with you. And so you could say, hey, I really enjoy CrossFit, but I also want to be able to build the aesthetics and like, this. Help me come up with the optimal plan so that way I'm still getting enough recovery, but I can do the gym and I can do this and let it do it for you. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
In
perfect,
fact,
man. That's exactly what I was wondering about. So,
yeah, AI has made it so easy for us. In fact, I know a guy who got so pissed off because he found out that his coach was just taking everything and putting it into ChatGPT and taking that answer and giving it back to him, and he was charging him $1,000 a month for it. He's like, dude, I was paying for your knowledge, not AI. When he found that out, but it was working. It was
mhm.
working. When he found that out, he just, So I would rather just be transparent and be like, guys, go use AI. It's gonna be smarter than me on a lot of that.
Sweet. Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. And I am gonna end up calling the call a little early because this conference just out here at this hotel that I'm at, and there's all these people coming out in their fancy clothes, and here I am looking like a beach bum yelling about CrossFit workouts and GLPs in the middle of a hotel lobby. So I probably should not put that damper on their party. I'm like, and drinking is horrible for you, as they're all drinking at the bar behind me. But well, I appreciate you guys. Hopefully you enjoyed today. Sherry, do me a favor. Send me a Google Drive of this once you edit it, because I'm going to be putting it up on the Fit Founder channel as well. And I'll make sure I blur out anybody's names on here. Actually, Sherry, if you could blur out anyone's names or faces, that would be awesome, because nobody signed up to be on any YouTube training today.
Oh, okay. All right.
I appreciate you all, and have an awesome weekend. See you
All
guys
right.
next week.
Take it easy.
See you. Bye.